All right. Good morning, everyone. As always, do a broad market outlook, go over some top ideas, and then we'll go over any member ideas. So going over some of the most notable sectors or markets to look at, we have the Dow at major resistance here. We have this downtrend line that we've drawn that's been holding up for better part of this year that we're just hitting now. We're seeing that with a lot of the other sectors as well, our major markets, where it's definitely a time to be more cautious and look to take more profits up here than trying to go crazy, trying to buy these resistance breakouts that just haven't been working. So the same thing in the SPY. Again, 420 has been major resistance, since last summer, and we're within 2% away from retesting that. The mini pivot right now is versus just 405. But right now it's even tighter versus kind of Friday's low for that push up in this 420 area. We'll see if it's able to break out or if it's going to continue to do what it's been doing, which has been just stall out up in this area. We're seeing the same thing with, again, a lot of these individual sectors, same story. We have seen this in healthcare, amazing run up that we saw in this past month, right into major resistance. So we're seeing this similar theme of this run up into resistance where most of the major markets or major sectors, there's probably a little bit more to go in the short term, but most of the easy move seems to be in the past. Most really not really any sectors that look dramatically weak. Most are either running up near resistance or setting up within their major base. We're seeing it in consumer staples, consumer discretionaries. We're seeing that in the REIT sector. So some sectors are still setting up to keep an eye on, and there's other ones to try to avoid or be more cautious in that have already gone on significant runs, like healthcare. Just individual name wise, I'm still in this OPCH. I got in this one last week up to 32. Still keeping that stop versus 31. It's continued to hold. And we can still see all of last week, it just couldn't break 32. There's still clearly a seller there holding it down. But this is something that I will add back up through 32, keeping that same stop for now since it has been holding up thus far. A few other names. We have this PODD. Keeping on this 325, this blue sky breakout. Again, you can kind of sneak in up to 320, but for me, I'm just going to wait for this bigger breakout through that all-time high than trying to sneak in and get in too early before it's really ready. This MYGN, keep an eye. We were watching this 24 area for this breakout of the flag, but now that it's come back into support, we should probably expect a shakeout of this 22 area. And if it does and turns back up, we can find a little sneaky support buyback up through 23 versus 22 instead of having to buy the 24 breakout and it having to work perfectly. And lastly, this EXAS, a lot of members have been keeping an eye on this 69 area, 69, 70, both seem to be kind of like the bigger spot for this name versus 64 for now. So a couple names on the radar. Most of the sectors are looking pretty strong. Most names, some sectors pretty extended, so you want to definitely proceed with some caution. But you want to just focus on the relative strength. So with that, Evan, if there's any top ideas you want to go over, or member ideas, we can definitely do that now.
Yeah, I'm mostly focusing more on some weekly charts right now, just because I'm not too eager to put on too much risk. I feel like a lot of the good trades have kind of already broken out for the best trades, and the other ones just need a little bit more time. So some of the things that I'm looking at on a weekly chart, the first one is this Google, which is actually seems to be gapping down this morning. Seems like it might have had some news. I haven't looked into it too much yet. But this Google, just from a weekly standpoint, is kind of starting to shift, from that breakdown stage into this consolidation stage, and could potentially be moving into that back into stage one uptrend soon. It's kind of at a very key area right now. Am I buying this first thing today? Probably not, especially with this gap down. Seems like it's kind of going to force a little bit more of a consolidation here, which is probably better in the long run. So just keeping an eye on this one. Another one I'm looking at that I really love on the weekly is this Microsoft. Similar story here, right? Had the breakdown stage, now giving us a bit of a base. This is kind of just the retest of that little 290 area. So I'd love to kind of see it consolidate, keep putting in some higher lows. But overall, I think this is going to be a solid one later this year. I think is going to be a nice move in this one. Let's see, let's check out the Alpha chat right now. Kusha is looking at two names. He's looking at Lulu through 370. Post earnings consolidation. Uh, looks pretty good for a move back up to 390. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like it. Through this like 368, I guess 370. It
Hmm.
looks great.
Yep, it's
370 versus
given us.
360. Yeah.
Yep, yep. I was definitely, I was looking at this one a few days after it gapped up on earnings. I didn't trade it or anything, but this one just is a good live example of why we really want to wait for a week or two of consolidation after those big gap ups. Make
Mhm.
sure that it can prove itself. It's clearly holding that gap very well. So now it's kind of given us the green light to put in a buy stop through that resistance area. It looks pretty
Mhm.
good. The other one he's looking at is PODD. And he's looking to buy this one through 320. Looks like you've already kind of got it
Mhm.
there for the blue sky breakout. This is kind of that low cheat area through 320 with the
Mhm.
eventual, potential add through all-time highs on that third attempt through 325.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see. I mean, I like that this little buy too. I just don't want to. I just don't want to get in too early. I'd rather just wait for the breakout. But that too is very clear, very tight entry. So I'm
Yeah,
with them on that 320 buy.
yeah, absolutely. Other than that, I mean, Chip posted a couple charts, but didn't really post any entries. We'll pull them up anyways and
Mhm.
see. The first one is AXON, which I mean, it seems like it has some momentum through maybe that 228 area. Yeah, 226, 228. Looks pretty good. From a weekly standpoint, it does seem like it's a little bit extended and could use a little more time. Seems like the real A plus entry was through that 200, which obviously was a move on earnings. So from a daily chart, it would have been a tough entry, but just in general, if it could consolidate a little bit more and digest that move from 200 to 230, would probably be a little more A plus in my opinion.
Mhm. No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Another one he's looking at is ARRY. Again, no entry here, but I'm assuming probably through that 2250 area. Looks like you've already got it mapped out through
Yeah,
24.
yeah,
Yep.
24. Yeah, 24. There's 2250. The only concern really is just again bottom right recent IPO. So wanted to take that with a grain of salt, but definitely can see what he's looking at here. Again, this eventually through this 25 is probably going to be much more significant. This was like a really big breakdown area of this name.
Mhm.
Um, but this is just want to be careful again. It's just recent IPO, bottom right. You want to definitely proceed with some caution and just the risk you have to give this name. He changes that. So
Definitely.
if he's buying 2250, you're giving it at least verse 19 or even 20, you're giving it 10% off the bat. So this is a name where you seem like you almost need to buy that support buyback. You can't really buy the breakout in this. You need to like watch it kind of pull in and find an entry where it's like, third or fourth day down, you can buy back up versus that recent pivot, then trying to buy 22 or 24 through the resistance area. So this one, he's got to just find like the support entry in this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Buying it off the next pivot low is kind of probably the better spot risk to reward wise.
Mhm.
And then another one, I know a lot of people are looking at this one is IoT through 2025.
2020. So it's kind of right there right now. Pre-market's at 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2050. Again, but it's kind of like that same thing as you got to give it versus 19. So you're giving it a buck, you're giving it what 5% to start. So this would be a pass for me. I can see like the consolidation area, but I would not be in a big rush to give this $1.50 off the bat.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a cheaper name. It's something to keep in mind. I mean it is the trade of the week on the shakedown. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the gap up always kind of worries me on a Monday just because, I try not to trade that the early morning gap up. It's a very easy way to kind of get caught in a trade and take a loss
Mhm,
early on in the week and can be kind of tough. We have a lot of big earnings names this week with banks, and then we have like
mhm,
Netflix and Tesla. So that just gives me kind of more and more reason to be really patient and wait for those A plus setups to just be yelling at me to buy them.
mhm.
Right now, this morning, I can't say anything is yelling at me to buy, but we'll see how the rest of the day goes and the rest of the week.
Yeah, definitely agree.
And that's about it on my end.
All right, yeah, I think we wrapped it up.
Cool.
All
See you
right,
guys
guys.
later.
Seeing the guys in the chat.